Welcome to State of Play with Brandon Bales. I am, of course, your host, Brandon Bales, as always. And today we have Neil Sorens with us from Zen Studios, creators of the PINBALL FX series. One of my favorite games on Xbox Live. I play it all the time. I love pinball in real life, so I love that there are gentlemen out there who want to help me realize my passion in digital form. So, Neil, thanks for coming on the show. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
This is a big pleasure, and thank you so much for having us in your home as well.
Oh yeah, thanks for coming out. Zen doesn't have an office out here in the U.S., so yeah, this is where I work.
Makes it easier too. You don't have to go to L.A. or Seattle or wherever. We just come to you.
Oh yeah, that's nice too. I got up 9 o'clock. Nice. I'm sure you were up a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So.
Just a little bit, just a tad bit. Well, yeah, man. So let's touch briefly on what's going on with you guys, the new stuff. You guys announced 2 brand new IPs at E3 this year.
Yeah, we have 2 new games that we're really excited about. One is called CASTLESTORM, and it's archery, action, RTS hybrid, basically castle versus castle. And the other one is called KICKBEAT, and it's a rhythm game with a kung fu theme. It's
pretty cool too. I saw the trailer for that, and it's definitely a very kinetic new definition of a rhythm game, I think, you know.
Yeah, we we all like the the music games that Harmonix and Konami and those types of companies have put out. One of the things we thought we could do that no one else was doing is get rid of the interface, the abstract rhythm cues, the button icons and arrows and that kind of stuff, and replace that with actual animated 3D characters. So when you're pressing the buttons, you're basically creating this fight scene, and it's pretty fun.
That's really cool. We'll come back to that, but I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. You guys are known for your pinball games. That's pretty much your claim to fame right now.
Yep.
But you're also, what really interests me about you as a company is that you are sort of working you're working here, and you're one of 2 men out here, right, who work for Zen in Northern California, and then the rest of the team is back in Budapest. Am I right?
Right. We actually have 3 people out here now.
Okay.
I work out here. The VP of PR and marketing works here, and then we also have another PR person out in California.
Great. So so how long have you been with the company, and let's talk about that experience of being so far away from home base, if you will.
I've worked with them for about 7 years now, cool. Since 2005, and at first it was just consulting contract. They'd give me a document in the Hungarian version of English, and I'd revise it, and so they could submit it to Microsoft or whoever or publishers. But as time went on, I became more and more involved with Zen, and eventually they hired me full time. It's working with them can be difficult at times, but it's not as hard as most people would expect. There is a delay of I'll email them in the afternoon here, and I won't get a reply for about 18 hours or so.
They're asleep.
Right, and when they reply, that I'm asleep. So there's a bit of delay there, but we've kind of refined the process to the point where the things I'm involved with and the tasks I'm doing typically aren't ones that need instantaneous 1-hour type replies, so that delay is acceptable. I do go over there 2 or 3 times a year. So I spend several weeks a year in Budapest, and that helps as well. I actually spent up to 3 months at a time there.
Wow.
In the past. And by the end of the 3 months, I'm ready to come home and ready for my 24-hour grocery stores and In-N-Out burgers and that kind of stuff.
That's crazy. I've never been to Hungary, but I've heard that Budapest is an amazing city. So
it is. It's amazing in many ways.
Yeah.
And
That's great. Well, so when you started out as a consultant first, how did you come into that, or what were you doing as your job then that would allow you to consult for a video game company at that point?
Well, I was unemployed, so that made it.
I'd do anything.
Well, what happened was I worked for this company called Blue Shift out of Palo Alto, and I was a designer on some baseball games for Sega.
Wow.
It was, called World Series Baseball, and they actually took the game and gave it to Kush Games for the 2005 edition. And so the company didn't have any other projects at that point in time.
Okay.
And so they're like, everyone's kind of on furlough, on hold.
Right.
And so I'm not sure if I was technically unemployed or not,
right.
but the basic thing is I wasn't working at all. I had a coworker who had gone to work with a business development agency called Flashman. Mm-hmm. And so he was asking for my help and advice on some of the design aspects of the things his clients were working on. Right. And I figured, hey, I could turn this into actual employment. And so I did consulting work for, I guess, about 4 years. I don't really miss it just because, hustling for work was half my time. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather just be working on stuff and designing stuff rather than, doing the legwork to find employment. I'm sure you know the feeling.
Yeah, as an actor, yeah. That's all it is. That's all it is. Running around. That's half my week sometimes. Just literally going to one place and going to another place and going to another place, going to another place. So when you first started working for Zen, I'm guessing that pretty much right off the bat, you were working on Pinball FX, or...
Yeah, that was the first thing I worked on. It was actually, we were pitching a PSP game called Pinball Fusion. Wow. And it was supposed to be like, video gamey pinball with like magma flowing across the table and that kind of thing.
Kind of like, what was that game?
Odama?
Odama, sure. Or I'm thinking of...
Flipnik?
Flipnik, right.
Yeah.
For PS2.
Yeah, that was a good game. I thought it got a little bit of short shrift.
Yeah, I agree. It was hard. It was hard, but it was fun. I would love to see more games like that, but go on.
Yeah, so we were pitching that. Publishers weren't really interested in like, pinball, no one buys pinball, right, sort of thing. Yeah, and they were right. And they were also like, no one buys PSP games, right. Which is the other problem. People bought PSPs and they played PSP games. They just didn't want to pay money for it. Right. DS had kind of the same problem. Just piracy was pretty rampant. Anyway, so when we first heard about Xbox Live Arcade coming out, we pitched the game as a downloadable title for Microsoft, and they were like, no. But we talked to they had a Xbox Live Vision camera. It was like a little Xbox webcam sort of thing. And if you've ever played Uno and you had that on, you've probably seen Naked Men.
I never did that.
That's good. That's good.
But I'm going to buy it tonight.
That's pretty much all it was ended up being used for, with people flashing their junk in Uno games. But yeah, exactly, exactly. But at the time, Microsoft was pushing the Xbox Live Vision camera, and if you would support that with your game, then you had kind of like an in.
I gotcha.
And so we actually pitched it to their Xbox Live Vision department rather than the regular, the regular venue or whatever. And that's how we got approved for
So what was the sell? You can play pinball with your buddies, or while you watch each other play pinball?
No, you could use your arms as flippers.
Okay, cool. Okay,
well,
cool.
and the video chat as well. But.
Okay. I didn't even think, for a second I was like, yeah, you could do that, but then I said, wait, that wasn't implemented then, but I guess it was. It was like just much more simple than Connect.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of the precursor to Connect, and but it wasn't nearly as sophisticated, and so we had to write a lot of the code for the motion detection ourselves. And yeah, so it was definitely a precursor to Connect in terms of the gesture-based gameplay, and that's kind of one of the reasons I'm not so hot on Connect.
So, how far along did that go? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that wasn't released, was it, or that was?
It was.
It was.
Yeah, if you boot up Pinball FX, or I think Pinball FX2 supports it as well.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, so if you can attach the camera and wave your arms around. And after about a minute, you'll be tired. Yeah. You'll be like, okay, this is over.
Wow. And this all came because I think I'm correct in assuming that your managing director loves pinball and collects classic tables and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. The company was very small when we started work on this. It was less than 10 people. Fewer than 10 people. And he wanted to make a game that he kind of knew something about. And so, he was a pinball fan. They didn't have, the guys working on it didn't have any experience developing pinball games, but, they had experience developing games and they knew a little bit about pinballs. But the first game we made wasn't very good. It was really derivative of, but we basically looked at real tables and kind of copied them.
Sure.
And did our own themes and stuff, but they weren't very original, and they weren't very good. There's this one table called Extreme. I don't know if you played it.
I never did download it because I only played Pinball FX2, but you can download it, right? You can import the original tables.
Yeah, and there's also the Pinball FX Classic Pack or whatever in Pinball FX2. Yeah. Which I think is on sale recently, but. Cool. I'm just kidding, buy it. The Extreme table. This is a table that's not very good, and it has a kind of Thrasher theme. Like Thrasher the magazine, if you remember.
The skating magazine?
Yeah, well, it's like a combination of like skating and hip hop, and it has kind of like this rock hip hop soundtrack with this guy singing with a Hungarian accent.
No.
Yeah.
Now I want to buy it.
Well, I'll have to show you that in a little while.
We'll have to boot it up. Maybe we can get some footage of that.
Yeah. And this guy saying, "Yeah, boy," like every few just minute or so.
Oh my God! I want this now. That's so awesome.
I think eventually it will be one of those things that's like so bad it's good, but right now it's just so bad it's bad.
Okay. So so that came out, and obviously you guys had some success with it. And well, before I go into that, I do want to say that I love pinball, and I'm so happy that Zen has done what they've done, because it allows me to get that thrill at home, which has been so great. I love pinball, and so thank you.
Thanks for playing. It's cool that we've been able to do something that we're excited about and we like to make, and that people actually buy it. So there's a lot of times when you make you're an independent developer, you make something you're excited about, and it turns out not many other people are excited about it. It's unfortunate that real pinball has kind of gone away. It's just not a good value proposition for most people, unfortunately, because arcades are fewer and further between. 50 cents for a single game of pinball is not a good value compared to hours and hours and days of Call of Duty, or whatever for in the money per hour. Value proposition.
Well, you might be happy to note that, I don't know if you know about it, but at least in my opinion, I live in Los Angeles, and I mean, obviously Stern is still carrying the torch, which is awesome, and I really appreciate that. Even though sometimes, no offense to Stern, but you talk about derivative tables, like sometimes it's just
the same table with a different skin. Yeah, it happens.
I mean, they vary in quality. Some of them are great. Like have you played the Wheel of Fortune pinball game?
No, I haven't.
It's great. I love it. Which sounds hilarious. Why would they make a Wheel of Fortune pinball game now? Why? I don't know, but it's fun.
Really, I hadn't even heard about that one. Last one I heard about was the AC/DC table.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I think they just come out with it pretty recently. I heard that the higher end editions of that are really good.
Oh man, that would be swell. I would love that. I even liked. The Rolling Stones one was okay. Played that one recently. Speaking of like rock tables, do they have? Is there some sort of like gimmick about the AC/DC one that's like really amazing or anything?
Well, they have like 12 different songs on it, I think.
Oh, cool.
So it's they've got and I've heard I haven't played it myself, but I've heard that it plays well. It's designed by one of the people who worked at Williams for a while.
Oh, cool. Nice. Like I'm always wondering what that Pat Lawler guy's doing. It's like one of the guys I know because
he did
Addams Family.
Oh yeah, that was an amazing table.
It's like classic, and he did Monopoly too. Like that's the last one I know he did, which I really liked. But some people think it's bad, which is funny to me. But anyway, what I was gonna say was, it seems like there is a certain resurgence. It's definitely like an underground thing, and even maybe to the point of just being like something cool for people who. Just something, like a little cool thing for the cool kids to do or something, but they don't really care about it so much. Maybe.
Well, it's vintage. Everything vintage is
vintage.
Yeah.
Right. But there is in LA and near where I live, a woman has opened up a place called Pins and Needles in this of all places, in a music rehearsal studio. But she rented out a space.
I think I read about that on Yelp or something.
Probably so. It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome. And it's June as we film this, 2012. She just recently moved it to a smaller space in the same building. I'm not sure why exactly. I haven't got the whole thing, but the previous space was huge. Had all these couches and stuff. Had like 15 to 20 tables that she's like revamped herself and with her boyfriend, I think. Her name is Molly Atkinson. She's awesome. Thanks, Molly, for doing it. But you should go. If you're ever in LA, you should seek it out because there's a lot of love.
Oh yeah, I will for sure. There's I love visiting places like that. They're not really there because someone thought it was a good business idea. Right. It's because it's there because someone wanted to make it. Yeah. Yeah,
and she even has a league night too, though. So it's actually still got figures, which I love, and the fact that Stern obviously is still making tables means that it's not completely dead, so that's great.
Yeah, there's actually there's some a relatively new company called Jersey Jack Pinball.
Really?
That started making games as well.
I didn't know this.
All these they're kind of more of a boutique shop, catering to higher end people who aren't satisfied with the Stern's. I guess the level of quality of their parts and that kind of thing. They want the kind of old school,
meaty.
Well, it used to be that the tables were designed to hold up in arcade conditions with lots of play, and that Stern makes them for individuals primarily. Right. So it's not the same build quality. Right. And then there's some individuals that are working on stuff like. John Papaduke is teamed up with Ben Heck.
Yeah, really? I remember reading something about this. What are they working on together?
I think it's what's called Zombie Adventureland is the name of their table. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I can't imagine what Ben Heck would do with pinball.
Well, he has all the machine tools and stuff, so he's doing all the wood.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool. I'm looking forward to that. So, did you before you started working with Zen, did you have an affinity for pinball at all, or was it something that you kind of come to love through the company?
Yeah, I've definitely developed a greater appreciation. You know, my experience was more, you know, as a kid, not having a whole lot of quarters to spend at the arcade, and so my experience playing pinball was pretty limited. Yeah. I tend to put my quarters into like NFL Blitz and some of these other games. I did play some. You know, I remember. I think it was Terminator 2.
Yeah,
I played a lot of that table when I was a kid, but you know, I definitely didn't have the appreciation for like the history of pinball or you know, what makes a good pinball table or that kind of thing. Right. And so that's something that I've learned, and that's something the whole company has really, even though some of the people at the company, you know, were big fans. Other people, including some of the designers we brought on, have basically learned their craft while working on the tables. And so, you know, at the beginning, they were, like I said, it was pretty derivative. They weren't, you know, confident in their skills to develop something original. But now, you know, that they have 5+ years of experience under their belt, they've gotten better.
It shows too, you know, in every pack that comes along down the line, I always see new things that delight me, and even without even going off the rails, meaning, you know, like keeping aside from, you know, the characters on the periphery, you know, who are obviously come out and have their little interactions, like the mechanics of the pinball is all really real, you know, for the most part, and that is really cool. Like, it's a real testament to the team. Like, you know, they get a lot out of. They pull a lot out of it, which is great.
Yeah, we definitely try to keep the you know, simulation first aspect of it. We've done some things, especially on the Marvel tables, that we've departed from that a little bit. Like on the Captain America table, the vats of adhesive X will spill out onto the table, and that'll slow the ball down.
Right.
You know, obviously, that's not something you could accomplish on a real pinball table without making a mess.
You have just a guy clean up. Thanks, Marco.
You know, but we try to make it feel like a real pinball table. We haven't gotten, like you mentioned, Flipnic before, and we haven't gotten quite to that point where it's just free form pinball mechanics, but the play fields are kind of they're pinball-ish.
Right. I love what they're doing, and I love the fact that they keep getting better. But now that they've had all this experience with the simulation, I'd love to see where they would go if they could do, you know, the total bananas kind of fun pinball experience. That would be really cool.
Yeah, it's something I want. You know, I think you know what makes pinball fun is the variety and novelty. Mm-hmm. And kind of discovering how everything works on the table, how to trigger the different modes. It's one of the reasons why we don't spell out like every little thing in the instructions, how to do everything. Because part of the fun is just figuring it out. Yeah. And also part of the fun is, for some people, is, you know, going online and discussing it and trying to figure it out, collaborating with other people, and kind of bring that social element into it as well. You know, but I'd definitely like to add some tables that are a little bit crazier, and I'd also like to do like some retro style tables that are like, you know, electromechanical, score reels and all that kind of stuff as well. Really cool. I think we should definitely branch out and do and maintain that you know, variety and novelty factor.
Between the first and the second, I remember a big selling point of, you know, when I first got Pinball FX2, it said, you know, now with great new physics, you know, that was a big selling point. How was that come to? Was that something that everyone decided that needed to happen, or was it something that just?
The physics was one of the criticisms, probably the biggest criticism we got on our first round of tables, or our first game. And the problem stemmed not really from our inability to do it. It was more from a bad decision to make the physics more arcade-like. So, you know, the ball bounced further than it should have. The flippers hit it faster than it should have gone. So we, we actually did our first round of improvements on Zen Pinball for PS3.
Okay.
And so that was kind of like stage one of the improvements. It still wasn't great. It was better, but it had other problems like too much spin and some other kind of just wonky aspects where it didn't feel right or look right. So for Pinball FX2, we did more, I guess, a more scientific approach to, instead of just using math, we put some real world observations into it as well.
Cool.
And it's, we had about 3 years between release, so we've had quite a bit of time to refine it. And basically every release we do, every game we release, we're kind of refining the physics as well. So it's something that's never finished. And the weird thing is that some people think it's great and it's perfect. And some very experienced pinball people, but some other very experienced pinball people are like, oh no, it's all wrong. So it's one of those things where it's based on people's perception as much as it is an objective comparison to how things operate in the real world. Yeah. So it's, I think it's one of those things where you're never going to make everybody happy, and so we're just going to go with the model that we think is good and that we think works with our tables, and leave it at that.
Good. That's great. So do you guys, now that you've done all these Marvel tables, is the train slowing down at all? Is everyone still fully, I mean, obviously you have 2 new games coming out, but is everyone still excited to work on it? Like, do you guys still have a bunch in the cooker, a lot of tables that you're toying around with, or?
Yeah, we've got several tables in development. One is we're working with PopCap, and
cool.
We haven't announced which property that is yet, but that's coming out late this summer.
Great.
We've got 2 more Marvel tables in the works, and I think that'll be the end for the foreseeable future, just because we've done so many. And I think people are kind of getting marveled out.
Yeah.
I mean, there about half of our tables are Marvel tables,
Yeah,
so
yeah. That's a fair amount.
Yeah, so so we have some other another big property that also not announced that I think people will be excited about, and those should be out early next year, I think.
Might it be Barbie?
Barbie. Well, our audience skews male, at least according to our Facebook demographics, so we'd probably do more of the Ken.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Barbie might be like a supporting character.
All right, that's fine, dude.
Or Skipper, if you're into that.
Oh, man. You said the magic word. Okay, so I have to ask, since I was a big fan and I've been playing the tables for a while, how the voice acting has been cast and recast as you've moved along, because I noticed that, like, in the first few tables there was some questionable voice acting.
Yeah, we originally used a just basically paid a company in Europe, and they subcontracted it, and we didn't do any tests on the actors,
right.
And we didn't do any voice tests or anything. They just we weren't there to direct, like, during the session to comment on the lines. It was basically like, here's some money, and then we get something back. And it may or may not fit what we need, but we couldn't, we didn't have the budget for a reshoot and that kind of thing. One of the things that's made us step up our game a little bit was just Marvel's involvement. They were much more demanding than that. That didn't fly for them. So we use a company called New Generation Pictures. They do a bunch of anime voiceover and also video games, and they've been really good. So they'll send us voice tests, and they'll reshoot stuff, and they'll do a bunch of different versions of each line and that kind of thing. So
that's great.
It's working out better.
Good. I just have to do one for you. Follow the compass to the next town. Do you remember that from Pasha?
Yeah. Oh, my least favorite is the Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, Deus.
You sang it wrong.
From Rome.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that bothered. I'm so glad that I forgot about that one. I'm so glad you brought that up because I get every time Deus Ex Machina.
And just the woman's voice for that table is all wrong.
I agree.
It's like this militaristic table, and
yeah.
there's some Valium chick.
Right. Yeah. It's the only game on Xbox Live where I care about my leaderboard scores. And it's the only one that gets me playing with my friends and saying, like, haha, top this.
Yeah, and that's something we want to expand on when we make a PINBALL FX2 as well.
Oh.
Well, it's just something we're planning. It's not
an official announcement or anything. Great, yeah.
But yeah, it's something we have to do eventually, just because we have a lot of ideas for features and stuff that we can't do in a title update. And there's a new generation of consoles coming, and
that's great.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, we put a lot of effort into the social aspects. The reason Wizard score is there is just to make you populate your friend's leaderboard. I think we should have done a little bit more in terms of rewards. Like there's like the T-shirt and the robe, but I'd like it if there were more of those rewards to kind of incentivize that over the long term. So we're doing a bunch of stuff with that, and that I think people will be excited about a year and a half from now or so.
Great. Let's touch on real fast, because we had an interview yesterday with Edmund McMillan from Super Meat Boy.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about real briefly like that whole experience, if you will, like Pinball Gate. Can you call it something like that? No, I don't know.
Oh, but the Twitter fight.
Yeah, the Twitter fight and about the Microsoft problems with Microsoft, et cetera, like how there was some. Obviously, like they felt a certain way about their experience, and you guys felt a certain way about your experience, and then they felt, like you called them out publicly, or the Zen called them out publicly. Now that that's like all blown over and everything's copacetic, how did that? Do you have any opinion on how that all went down?
I wasn't following it very closely, just because. It wasn't me. Right. Yes, making those tweets and sending those emails. I think my position is that we had a good experience with Microsoft, and I don't think those kind like developers who had good experiences were either they weren't coming out and saying, hey, we in contrast to Jonathan Blow and Super Meat Boy, or Team Meat, we actually were happy with, and so I think we just kind of wanted to add some balance to that discussion, because what happens after all these indie teams criticize Microsoft is eventually Microsoft says, okay, well, we're not going to work with indie teams like that in the future, because the negative PR hit isn't worth it. And so that's obviously not good for indie developers. So I think, we just wanted to kind of add some balance to that. Because if you read on the message boards, everyone's like, oh, Microsoft is horrible, blah, blah, blah.
Sure, yeah.
And, I think, that may have been the case for Team Meat, but it wasn't for us. And I think, we had a lot of other developers like emailing us like, thanks for... that's what we would say if we were willing to risk incurring the wrath of the internets.
They can be a cruel bunch.
Yeah, especially Microsoft is not an easy. I mean, they are and they aren't an easy company to stick up for. They are because they've got a bunch of really smart guys, and because our relationship with them is really good. But they aren't because they're big and they have lots of money and they're not underdogs.
Right.
So that's what that was about. And I guess you asked about the aftermath. It's just we think that working with Microsoft makes sense if you're willing to jump through the hoops and do the extra work and hire the extra people and that kind of stuff to make it work. It's definitely more difficult than development on PC. Yeah. Certification, testing, it's a lot more demanding, especially your first time through.
Yeah. The kind of finish on that whole debacle was that there was an idea that maybe there would be a Meat Boy pinball table at some point. Do you guys does that still interest you, or has that been?
Well, I think if we worked with them, it would be something that that's they're in the process of making, right. Rather than something that came out a while ago. Just because we would want it to be to keep, if we're working with a small developer on a property that's not huge, like say Marvel, right. We want it to be something that's extremely current. Right. So it's something that's going to be popular rather than something that was popular.
Like you did with Missplosion Man.
Right. Well, I think it would have been better if we'd done the table for the original, with the original Splosion Man, because that was kind of the height of that game's popularity. Right. Whereas Missplosion Man didn't have the same impact, I guess.
But you were hoping for the same impact, so that's why they launched at similar windows.
Right.
Right. Cool. Okay. Well. You heard that, Team Meat, and so maybe next time around. Cool. Well, so let's touch on these two new games that are coming out. You told me before the interview that you are the lead designer on KICKBEAT.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, for the most part. Just because I have a lot of other stuff that I have to do as well. It's sometimes I have to hand that over to. The title has kind of been passed around a little bit, but I guess nowadays I'm kind of the lead designer on that. But
okay.
it's been an interesting project.
I don't know a ton about it, but I've seen the trailer and seen some of the gameplay footage, and is it? Does it stick with the same rhythm ideas of does color play a huge role in associating like the buttons that you're?
Not really. We color code enemies to indicate what kind of pattern they form, not which buttons you need to press. The information that tells you which button to press is the direction the enemies are coming from.
Okay, cool. Nice.
So if the enemy is coming from the right, you press the circle button.
Right. All right. So, and so there's like a whole campaign built into this game, from what I understand, right? There's a whole story.
Right. Since we have characters instead of buttons and arrows and whatever, we wanted to bring those characters to life a little bit. Because what's the point of having characters if they're just props? It's not as big of a advancement or change.
Right.
So we basically every 3 songs or so you'll get a cutscene that advances the story. It's not like anything innovative in the in game narrative, but
sure.
And the story itself is kind of cheesy too. I mean, it's like it's a kung fu game, so it's got a kind of cheesy kung fu story of this is why these people are fighting, and it's tied into music. Like the bad guy stole all the world's music, and you have to go rescue it. And there's a girl and a guy, and they like each other. So, spoiler.
A love story? Would you call it a love story?
Um,
The first rhythm love story.
No,
it doesn't sell.
no, I would not call it a love story. It's a kung fu story.
How about the music? How is it? Where's the music coming from?
From a bunch of, well, several different sources. We have something like 12 or 13 different artists in the game.
Cool.
18 total songs. We worked with major music publishers. We worked with independent artists and everything in between. So
cool.
we've got a lot of music that I think goes really well with the game. Some stuff that people haven't heard of and some stuff that people will definitely know. So
great. I'm looking forward to it. That launches later in 2012?
Yeah, it should be fall.
Fall. Cool. Yeah, I understand how it works. It's not always
Yeah.
Not always given. Cool, man. And then finally, CASTLESTORM's coming up too as well. And these are both downloadable games, right? Are they going to have retail versions of these?
Yeah, KICKBEAT will be coming out for Vita.
Oh, cool.
And
right.
it will be downloadable on PSN. There won't be a retail version.
Cool.
CASTLESTORM will be downloadable on pretty much every digital platform.
Great.
I think it will be coming to Xbox and Windows 8 first.
CASTLESTORM reminds me of some freeware game I used to play that I can't remember the name of.
Was it a Flash game? Or like a...
It was an archery simulator where you defended your castle from dragons and knights and things, and you bought different arrows in between. It was kind of like Scorched Earth, except for you weren't playing against someone else. You were just playing against an increasing wave of enemies. I can't remember the name of it.
There was a Flash game called Bowmaster.
Bowmaster is what it was. That I loved. I played that. I would sneak games of that at work all the time when I had an office.
Yeah, that game was pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's very much like that. Is it inspired by that?
That's, I think, one of the games that when we had come up with the concept, we're like, okay, let's see what else is out there that's similar to what we came up with, and that was one of them.
Cool.
There's a game called Age of War, which is swords and soldiers.
Yeah.
Angry Birds, obviously. You mentioned Scorched Earth, which I played a ton back in the day on my 286.
Right. And Worms. I guess Worms comes from Scorched Earth. I guess.
Sort of. I mean, Scorched Earth was first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But there were other games before Scorched Earth too. Like if you had an Apple II, there was Howitzer Battle.
Okay.
So the artillery games are they have a long and storied history.
Yeah.
But I think, as far as I know, we're the first to combine that with structure destruction as well. So the combination of like the troop RTS element, the archery element, real time, and also the structure destruction. Yeah,
that's cool.
And hopefully, well, not hopefully, definitely also multiplayer. So there'll be like a multiplayer progression where you unlock stuff, build up. There's a castle editor where you build up your castle and then take it online and battle against other people. So I think that's going to be fun.
In picturing a match, how much does a castle editor affect matchmaking? Meaning that if I want to play this game with my friend all night, say you and I are playing it all night, but you destroy my castle, do we have to wait 10 minutes for me to go and like build a new castle to come back and play? Or
no, your castle will reset for every battle.
Okay.
So it's more just like building your deck in Magic, or you configure it and then you take it and then you can reuse that castle as many times as you want for future battles. And
so if we wanted to play, can you store 15 castle configurations, or just a few at a time? Or
yeah, I think there's something like 9 or 10 different slots basically for castles.
Cool.
And there's, if you don't want to mess with the castle editor, there's also pre-made castles, so
cool.
just use those as well.
Do you enjoy the game? Have you played it some?
Yeah, I like it. It's it's not done obviously, right. But yeah, it's fun. It's I like the combination of archery and action, like Bowmaster had, which is a I do like games like Angry Birds, which are more the puzzle games as well. But it's I think the action adds a different just more urgency and it's more satisfying. I think when it's more of a war of attrition on the buildings rather than just hit the one spot and it all falls down. When I was a kid, my brother and I used to build up Lego cities, and then we'd use the weights that were from the bottom of the Lego ships. Yes. They would keep them flipping over and bomb each other's cities with them. So it's kind of the same concept as that, just building stuff up and then smashing it.
And is there a campaign mode as well?
Yeah. So there's a whole single player campaign with stories and cutscenes and stuff. It's mildly humorous right now. I think
trying to kick it up a notch.
Yeah, we'll do a revision and make it more humorous.
Great. Well, this is great. Yeah, I appreciate what Zen is doing. I'm glad that they're getting a chance to. You guys are getting a chance to branch out and explore some new ideas and in known genres, but kind of doing your own thing in that, which is really exciting. So, congrats on all these new ideas and congrats on Pinball FX.
Oh, thanks a lot. We're definitely excited to be working on all this different stuff.
So thank you so much for sitting down with us today. This has been great, and I'm so happy that someone else loves pinball out in the world as much as I do. It's fantastic. So thank you so much, Neil.
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
Yeah. So this has been Neil Sorens from Zen Studios. Thanks for watching State of Play. We'll see you next time.
Can't stop.